Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I have a very long overdue full review to do for you. This is the Kunwu Knives Tao, and this is a knife that I got on a whim through a Kickstarter campaign because my buddy left EDC, mentioned it, and said, hey guys, check this out, and I checked it out. And with the pre-order pricing on Kickstarter, this was only $134. That's not expensive based on everything else I'm going to say about the knife. It's very, very inexpensive, in fact, for the way that this knife is built and put together and all the features it has and all that. So I just figured, hey, it's pretty cheap for what it is. This is before I even held it. When I signed on for the Kickstarter campaign, I was like, it's pretty inexpensive. I might as well just give it a shot. If it's not good, it's not that big of a loss. Maybe I can sell it for close to that, whatever. And the knife got here, and holy balls, this thing is pretty remarkable. For $134, this has got to be the best value, bang for buck, that I've ever experienced. It's just really, really nice. I'm realizing now I've got a bunch of tape on the blade. I probably should have cleaned it off, but we're just going to go with it. So, yeah, this knife got to me over a month ago, and I don't remember if I did my first impressions or not. I might have just missed that completely. Things got crazy, but we're here now. We're doing a full review, and so we're going to talk about it. Yeah, so this is a Chinese-built knife. I'm not sure what factory or by whom. I guess Kunwu does their own production, maybe even possibly. I don't know a ton about the company or the guy or anything like that. I know Kevin from Left EDC has talked to him quite a bit. I know after the Kickstarter campaign, they sold quite a few more. They were more than $134 if you didn't get it on the pre-order, but they were still, I think they're like $175 or something, which still is kind of bananas for a knife of this build. So let's talk about what it's constructed from, what it's made out of, and then we'll talk about kind of how much I've used it, I guess, and then we'll go into ergos, carry, cutting, and action. Kind of my typical things, if you will. I'm out of the groove here, guys. I'm trying. All right. So materials. We're looking at a titanium frame lock. It's got this kind of orange peeled texture on the flats, and then these chamfers are kind of a machined look. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up really well. We've got an interesting, unique pivot, and then it's actually got a Damascus pivot collar, which is kind of bananas, again, at $134 that I paid for this knife. That's a little bit wild. On this side, you'll see frame lock. We do have an insert with a hardened interface and an over travel stop, and then we've got a loop over style deep carry clip, which actually comes past the end of the knife. Super deep carry, very, very comfortable. We'll talk about that. But yeah, that's a titanium loop over clip. I think the hardware is titanium. I'm not positive about that. We do have a titanium backspacer and a lanyard pin thing back there as well, which is out of the way, which I appreciate, but I'll never use it. Blade steel on this guy is going to be M390, also good for the price point, and this one's numbered. First production, 20 of 400, so that's kind of cool. There's at least 400 of these, according to that numbering. The M390 blade, nice full flat grind, very, very tall, obviously being full, and it's a great cutting profile. I really like it. So let's talk about it. First, how much have I used this knife? I've carried it quite a bit, actually. It's been sporadic because of other knives I've been reviewing and everything that's going on, but grand total, I've probably carried this knife 10 times. When I opened it, I was actually on vacation down in San Diego. I carried it a couple times that weekend, and then when I got home, I carried it a few times. I was on a big cardio kick for a while, so I was carrying it a lot in running shorts, either in my waistband or in the pocket. Typically, if I'm running, I'll carry in my waistband, kind of front, just to the right, and it carries really well. It's comfortable. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So I've carried it a lot of times, and I've used it quite a bit. As you can tell, again, there's still a bunch of tape residue and stuff on here. I've used this knife a lot. This is, for being an M390 titanium frame lock, with it being as cheap as it is, it's easy to justify in my brain using it hard. There's like no hesitation to just beat on it because it was cheap. And so I've just used it quite a bit. I've cut a ton of cardboard. I've cut a couple of apples for my daughter. I've cut a couple of zip ties, a little bit of paracord, That was just yesterday, actually, because I knew I was going to be doing this. I got some zip ties and paracord out and just cut with a few knives to be able to experience them and make sure I did some of that harder stuff with it. I've opened some packaging, a lot of tape. I mean, it's just been through quite a bit of stuff. And yeah, I've used it enough that I feel very confident speaking about its performance. I'll say that. Okay, so let's start with ergos. Ergonomically, this knife is super comfortable for me. I really like this forward finger groove, choil, whatever you want to call it. It's a very, very comfortable spot that makes me feel locked in. There's a tiny bit of jimping up here on that flipper tab. I don't really feel it, doesn't bother me. There's also jimping up here in the most typical spot you'll ever find jimping on a knife, where everybody seems to put it. It's not bad, it's not too aggressive, doesn't bother me. I could take it or leave it. You do also have this flat up here, which genuinely works quite well to choke up on the knife. I like that. I wasn't expecting that to be as comfortable as it actually is, and I've found myself using it quite a bit. So yeah, saber grip is good, choked up saber grip is good, hammer grip is good, draw cut is good. There we go. Reverse grip, quite good. I really, really like it in a reverse grip. Reverse grip draw cut, even that is fine. So nice neutral profile, but I still feel locked in. The texture feels nice. The clip isn't poking me or prodding me. It's not a hot spot, just comfortable. All right, so that's ergos. Let's talk carry. This pocket clip is awesome. It looks good, it suits the knife, it's comfortable in hand, and it's super deep. It just works really, really well. I haven't had any issues with retention. It's nice and easy in and out of the pocket, but it stays where it should, and it carries deep. I like that. It fits my preferences. It's not like the most incredible pocket clip I've ever seen, but you'll notice there's also there's nothing really sticking up under it. There's nothing for it to snag on. It just works well. So carry is very good in the pocket clip arena. It's also fairly thin this way. Doesn't feel like a thick knife. It's not unwieldy in that way. None of the profile is super thick this way. It's a little bit long. It's definitely what would be considered like a full-size or primary folder in my book, but it carries well. It's not overly heavy, although it's not super light. There is some internal milling. It's actually quite a bit, but yeah, it just feels, I mean, for a titanium frame lock, it's fairly light. It's not going to be a featherweight. It's not trying to be a bug out killer, but it's comfortable. So there you have carry. Let's talk action next. So what's fun about this knife is you've got multiple deployment methods. You have a traditional kind of flipper here on the back, and then you've got a front flipper up there. Both of them work really well. I was surprised to find out that they're both easy and convenient. The detent feels, if you're not on the lock bar, the detent feels pretty well dialed for either or, and sometimes it's difficult with multiple deployment methods to get a detent right. I'm holding it so weird to try to show the camera. If I just... Here we go. I actually, I don't know. I go back and forth between whether I prefer the regular flipper or the front flipper on this knife. They're both fun. They both work well. And they're just legitimate, fun, fidgety deployment methods. If this knife also had a hole or a way for me to middle finger flick it, then I'd probably be kind of in heaven, because that would be fantastic. But yeah, the action is nice. In terms of how it closes, pretty freaking smooth. I don't think I've added any lube to this knife, any KPL or anything, and it's just nice, runs on bearings. You can kind of drop it to your finger with the flipper tab if you want. It's nice. For $134 that I paid for this knife, one of the best actions I've ever felt in that price range, for sure. Even at $175, it's freaking fantastic. It's a really, really nice action for being a borderline budget knife. It's pretty crazy. That leaves us with, so we've done action, carry, and ergos. We got to talk about cutting. As I already mentioned, this blade has done really well at everything I've thrown at it. Nice, tall, flat grind, really nice cutting profile. It's a shape that just works. It's super simple, nothing crazy going on here. You've got nice belly, a little bit of flat, nice tip. That's not too dainty, but also not thick either. It makes it very easy to make incisions, and I have liked it. I've liked using this knife because it feels, between the ergos and the blade profile, like a very intuitive knife to use. Like, there's nothing funky going on here with shapes or like it's just simple. This feels like a knife you've held before. You know, like it just feels right that this is a knife in my hand, and cutting feels like that. It doesn't feel like there's any surprises or weird things, or that I need to get used to a blade shape or anything. It's just simple, simple, simple. And I think keeping it simple kept it, I don't know, it works. It works better for being that way. So yeah, I don't know. I like this knife. I hope that they make more of them. I think people, if this is kind of like, if say the $150 range, give or take 20, 25 bucks, is where people are comfortable playing in terms of their budget that they want to spend on a knife, this is an incredibly good option. Kind of unfair how good it is at that price point, because I struggle to think of another knife that costs as little as this does, that even has these materials, let alone uses them well. Like, when I look at this knife, I find myself inherently comparing it to knives that are more like 250, 300 bucks. And so the fact that it came to market sub 200 even is really, really impressive. Like, it feels, to me, I would say this knife feels like a We built knife, like a $250-ish We built titanium frame lock. It's like that level of quality, and it's impressive. They put freaking Timascus on it. I'm not even a big Timascus fan, but that's kind of cool. Timascus on the pivot collar. It's nice hardware. The clip is unique. It's got a titanium backspacer. It's M390, which according to what I've seen other people say in the testing they've done, has been doing well. I probably haven't done enough to this knife that it should have any edge damage anyways, but it just works. It works really, really well. It's fun. It's well built. It's carried well. Like, for the money, it's a no-brainer to me. So, I don't know. I think it's a solid knife to keep around. I plan to keep it around at least for a while. It makes a great user knife for me if I'm planning on doing hard work with a knife. This is probably one of the nicest construction-wise knives that I would have no qualms about using really hard. You know, like I wouldn't have to push myself to let myself use it hard because it costs so little. But yet it feels like it's more than that. I don't know. It's this weird kind of quandary. But I like it. It's done very well. It feels nice. And I think they're probably doing more of these because I feel like it's been a success for them from what I've observed. I know a lot of people have wanted them. And I've even gotten messages about whether I'd sell this one or whether I knew more were coming or what. But I don't know. I think Left EDC probably has a decent idea. Again, he talks to that guy more, the dude behind Kunwu Knives. But I'm sure you could also just reach out to Kunwu if you have direct questions about whether or not there will be more of these. There was a mini version, by the way, too. That's like way smaller than this and like half the size, like really tiny knife. I didn't have any interest because it was so small, but maybe if you think this is too big for you, then there's a size option too. Anyway, thanks for checking it out, guys. This has been an interesting full review. I need to get back on my game. I think I feel a little off. But this is the Kunwu Tao, and pretty fantastic contender for its price point. Just a little bit unbelievable, but I like it. It's a cool knife. Thanks. We'll see you soon.